Greetings, YouTubers. How's it going out there in YouTube land? Hopefully it's going pretty well for you. Well, let's just jump right into the video. We are going to be working on a Dodge Ram 1500 today as we drive down the highway. It's singing a little song called Clackety Clack, Clackety Clack. We got a universal in the front that is bad. Pretty common on these 1500s, and it's coming from this side over here. Here is a look at that universal, and you can see it is in pretty bad shape. It is right about there. As you can see right here, it's pretty much seen better days. So what we got to do is pull this unit off, slide this axle out, and press this universal out. This is pretty typical for these Dodge Ram 1500s. You got to remember these are very heavy trucks, and a lot of people like to run them in forward drive on the gravel, and sometimes they get out in the pavement, and they forget to take it off forward drive. And this can put a lot of stress on your universal, so make sure that you change these. Check them once in a while. If you hear clanking noises from the front, especially if you cut the wheel, more than likely, that's the issue you got. So at this point, I've got the wheel off, and I've got the vehicle up in the air with my 1938 antique jack. And I got a jack stand with a piece of plywood below it because this truck's pretty heavy. You don't want to take any chances, so you want to get it up in the air nice and secure. Now what we have to do here is we have to take off this hub assembly. We got to take off the brakes, the bracket, pretty straightforward. Then we got to take this big nut off here on the axle. Once we get it off, then we can take the wheel bearing off, slide it out, and basically pull that axle out. So let's get to it. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do here is go ahead and get our screwdriver, and we're going to push these brake pads back a little bit just to give us a little bit of room here to take this caliper off. And this caliper here is going to be held on by two of these T40 star bits, and we'll get these off here. Usually they come off fairly easy. And they're pretty long, and here is the first one. And you can see our caliper is coming loose already. It's pretty loose. There's our other bolt. Check the threads, make sure they're okay. And now go ahead and slide this off a little bit. And usually it comes off fairly easy. You might have to take a screwdriver and help it a little bit, but usually it comes right off pretty good. Okay. Alright, there we go with that. And now we're going to take our caliper and hang it up with a bungee cord that I have here. And also, when you get your caliper off, check these boots. Make sure that they're not torn, because if dirt and grease gets down in here, these will lock up eventually, and your brake will start to hang up and burn up your rotor. So just so you know. And now we'll hang this up, and this is pretty heavy. Get this up in the air here. Now you can see our calipers up out of the way. These are very heavy calipers, so you don't want those to hang down by the brake line. And now we'll go ahead and pull off these brake pads. Check them out, make sure they're okay. They're in pretty good shape for an old truck. And we'll get the back one off here. And off comes our anti-rattle clip, and these are in really good shape. We'll leave that one on. Now we got to take this bracket here off. Pretty easy to do. Okay, so now we got to go ahead and take out these brackets. This bracket, these two bolts, and this one here is held on by a 13/16 socket, and you'll have to have a breaker bar for this one. So let's see if we can get this broke loose. Oh, okay. Okay, it wasn't too bad. So we'll get this one off here. And now the second one. Hopefully it won't hit the camera. We'll see. I'm going to have to back the camera up a little bit here. Make sure we don't hit it. Alright. Good deal. This is actually my impact pull tire. Same size socket. And there we go. And you can see these are really big bolts. And now we'll go ahead and pull this bracket off, and there it is. Big old steel thing. Okay, so we'll go ahead and pull this hub off. Our disc brake. Oh boy, that's a big one. That's in good shape. Alright, so now I've turned the wheel around. Now we're going to go ahead and take this carter key out. If you don't have a socket that'll fit this, don't worry about it. Just get you a chisel and a hammer, and usually if you just tap it a few times, usually it'll come loose. Usually. Right, well, that one's on there pretty good, so let me just find the socket, I guess. Sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes, well, you gotta get the tool out. Okay, so obviously the chisel and the hammer didn't work, but sometimes I've seen these things just spin right off. But nevertheless, we had to go get a socket, and this is going to be a 1 11/16 socket. And you get a lot of these sockets at the farm store, Farm and Fleet, places like that. You can get these for about $20, so these are always nice to have in your garage if you're going to be working on vehicles. So just beware, you might have to go out and get one of those. Now, how are we going to stop this from spinning? Well, we're just going to simply stick a tire tool back here in this universal and spin this like this. And as we spin it, it'll lock that up. Okay, since that slipped out, I just ran a tire tool all the way through it. And now we'll go ahead and break this loose like this. Push down on it. There we go. Sometimes these are pretty rusted, so they're hard to get out. But this one came out fairly easy, looks like. And there it is. So, worked out pretty good. All right, let's get our washer out. And now you can see just how loose this is. So basically, it's ready to come out. And I hope the quality of this video is okay, because I had to break out one of my old hard drive cameras from 2003. I paid 45 bucks for this one here, so hopefully the quality is okay. I normally shoot on SD cards, but hey, hard drive cameras are still a thing, right? I don't know. But anyway, so now we got that loose. Okay, now on the back side, we got to take out these 3 14mm bolts that hold the bearing on. And these are 14mm 12-point sockets that you got to use, so be aware of that. And I've got this one actually loose. I had to take a pipe and a I put the little piece of pipe on this little ratchet and broke it loose. I don't have any 1/2-inch drives, but see how long this bolt is? A very long bolt. Now there's one on the top we got to get. Okay, now this one I'm going to have to put my pipe down on like that. Break this loose like this. God. Alright, there it is. Alright, so that one's really loose. Alright, now we'll go turn the wheel. Okay, and we got one to take out right here. I think you can see where my finger is. It's behind that tie rod end. So we'll go ahead and put our ratchet on here and socket. That's a tight one. Oh, there we go. Almost broke my camera. My $35 camera. Alright. Alright, so that one's out. Well, just about out. And there's that. Okay, now we're ready to go ahead and knock this wheel bearing out. So what you can do is take your hammer and tap it. Usually it comes off pretty easy. How about that? I like it when a plan comes together. So there's our wheel bearing. Spin it, make sure it's okay. Feels really good. There's no play in it, so we're good there. And then again, you might have a dust shield worth 3 cents. This one's pretty well gone, so I'll see if he wants to replace it. Okay, and now for the magic. Let me go straighten the wheel up. Alright, let's go ahead and slide this out. Ta-da! And there she be. There's our axle. You can see it's in pretty bad shape here. I'm surprised it didn't snap We're getting into a really good bind. Alright, so that's out. Okay, do yourself a favor, get a can of white paint and just put a couple marks on here so you'll know the orientation. That way you'll know the orientation there to put it back together. Okay, so what we got to do now is go ahead and knock out these little clips that are behind here. Some of them put them in the front, some put them in the back, so this one's going to be in the back, so we'll knock these out real quick. So the problem I got now is there's no clips in these. I don't know if you can see that right there, but that one's missing. That one's missing on the bottom down where my finger is. You can see how much this moves back and forth. Those clips got broken because part of the cap is missing. This is how wore out this thing is. So what we're going to do is just put it on a block of wood like this. And we're just going to go ahead and start knocking one side out real quick. I don't know if you can see that, but actually there was one clip on this side hidden beyond the rust and stuff, so there's that one. What's left of it, that's out. So this universal here has nothing really holding it in except some busted caps. So we got to go ahead and knock one of these caps out. Once we get one of these caps out, then we can take this whole thing apart and just knock something in here and knock this other one out on that side. You know, if yours is all rusted, beat up like this, you're just going to have to work with it until you figure out what's best for you to get it apart. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. We'll just take our hammer and hit it some more. You can see it's coming out now. Or if you have a press, you can use a press. I have a press, but I wanted to see if I can do this with a block of wood. Alright, so we got it finally started there. Alright, there's that cap. Now we can go ahead and knock the rest of this out. There we go. I probably should have knocked it in before I knocked it out, but we'll see if we can get it off this way because it's partially busted anyway. No, I'll have to knock it back in a little bit. Well, it was a good hammer at one time. Alright, now we can go ahead and knock this out. Okay, so after about 20 minutes of banging and wrestling around, it's coming apart finally, and you can see not much left of this universal on this side. It actually broke right there, so this thing is in pretty bad shape. But at least we got that out for now. We'll go ahead and knock the rest of this out. Take one of my old sockets and just knock it through. Alright, so there was that. And I gotta tell you, there's not a lot of clearance for that to go in there, so it's really tight. And now we'll go ahead and disassemble this. And now we almost got these clips out. These weren't too bad to get off. So there's one. And there's the other one, and you can see just how much damage has been done with this being really bad right there. And you can see how it's all busted up, that cap. So pretty much seen its heyday. Alright, so we'll go ahead and hit this a couple times, see if we can get it started out. Looks like it's coming a little bit, may take a while. Slowly. Alright, well, I hated to do it, but I had to use my 20-ton press that I bought at Harbor Freight years ago. This thing's been a lifesaver. I could not get these caps off. I just basically took a socket and just kind of pressed it out. And unfortunately, you might want to have a press on standby just in case. Unfortunately, there was just no knocking these out. They had to be in the press, so you can see how rusty they are. So that's out. And this one here is just about out. I'm going to have to probably knock it back that way in order to get it out now. That's the thing you get into sometimes. But I'm going to have to knock that cap back in there, but basically we've just about got this out. Alright, so we'll go ahead and knock this cap back in. And I have lots of old sockets that I use for things like this. And of course it always helps to have a little extra wood laying around. Alright. Alright, there we go. So that's out. Now we go ahead and pull this out here. And there's what's left of the old Universal. Crazy, huh? Not a drop of grease in there whatsoever. Alright, so we'll clean all this up and we'll go ahead and go to the parts store and get our new bearing, our new Universals. Okay, so there's our setup. I've cleaned these Universal centerpieces here out. Here's our new Universal. Picked it up for $18. It has a grease fitting from the factory, and we've got our clips, and we've got our paint marks lined up here, and we're ready to put this together. And there are several ways you can put this together. You can use a small hammer and just tap these in. There's plenty of tutorials online, and it doesn't hurt to have one of these guys here. I've used these a lot. These will actually help you push these caps in, so if you have a big C-clamp, go for that. But you can just kind of watch me. This is how I'm going to do it. There are several other ways you can put this together, but this is just how I'm going to do it. So let's get this together. Alright, so we got our last clip on. Look like it's all together, and we're ready to put it back together. Now remember, there's no right, there's no wrong way to do this. It's whatever you have, what kind of tools. If you have a press, it'll be a little bit easier. But there are some guys on YouTube that I've actually watched that actually can take these apart with block of wood and hammer, but you got to know what you're doing. So all we got to do now is go ahead and stick it back in the vehicle and wrap this video up. Okay guys, so there it is. We are finished up. How about that? So it wasn't too bad. And here's a look at the back with our new universal. And nice and tight. Hardly can move it, which is really good. So it wasn't too bad of a job. Like I said, the hard part was just getting the universal apart. Depending on how bad yours is, you may have to fight it to get it out. But we're done. All we got to do is put the wheel on and pretty much wrap this video up. So if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Hopefully I'll help somebody out there. And if you like any of my videos, say hi and let me know where you're watching from. So thanks for watching this video. And until my next video, guys, I'll see you later.